לדבר בם, לדבר Torah for Parashat Ekev. My late rabbi and teacher, Rabbi Binyamin Tabori Zatzal, had a series of Shiurim on a weekly mitzvah from the Parashah. One mitzvah he discussed was based on Rashi's interpretation for this week's Parashah and Rambam's interpretation of the Mishnah in Masechet Avot. לדבר בם, says Rashi, from the time the son knows how to speak, teach him Torah tzivah lanu Moshe, so that this should be the means to teach him to speak. Hence, they say that when the child begins speaking, his father converses with him in the holy language and teaches him Torah. And if he does not do this, it's as if he buries him, as it says, and you shall teach them to your children to speak of them. And Rambam says one shall be just as careful with a mitzvah he considers to be simple, such as joy during holidays and learning Lashon Hakodesh, as with a mitzvah whose seriousness has been explained to you, like Brit Milah, Tzitzit, Korban Pesach. Rabbi Tabori was interested in the halachic side of things. Do I have a mitzvah to teach or speak to my son in the holy language or not? I, on the other hand, am more interested in the outcome. Why should speaking Lashon Hakodesh be something Hashem wants us to do? Reading Rashi, it seems that the goal is technical. The boys should be taught to speak Lashon Hakodesh as a tool that enables them to learn Torah. If you speak to your child in Ivrit, he will become familiar with the language, and when he comes to study Torah, it'll be easier for him. Ramban's emphasis is a bit different. When figuring out the difference between the commandment in our parasha and the similar words in last week's parasha, he says that v'dibarta bam is a command for us to learn Torah regularly ourselves, whereas ledaber bam is a command to teach our children to constantly discuss Torah. There are two fundamental differences between Rashi's interpretation and Ramban's. Rashi refers to a command to speak Lashon Hakodesh, and Ramban to learn Torah. And two, according to Rashi, speaking is a means. Teach the sacred language so that he can study Torah. Ramban understands the command to be about passing on culture. Teach your son Torah so that the Torah will be a daily conversation. That's also how I understand Rambam's understanding. There are two mitzvot that Rambam considers simple mitzvot in his commentary on the Mishnah: speaking Lashon Hakodesh and rejoicing during the festivals. Comparing these two mitzvot shows that they both shape culture. Nationality is greatly influenced by language and the calendar. Another thing they have in common is that they don't require much thought. They're simply part of who we are. This is what defines them as mitzvot kalot. But the commentary I found most interesting was Rabbi Ovadia Sforno's, even if I'm not 100% clear that this was his intention. And you shall teach your children, accustom your children to keep the mitzvot, to speak in them while you sit, so that you will always speak in them. If both parts of the commentary are read separately, as it seems Rabbi Ovadia Sforno divided them, there's a separation between your sons and to speak of them. There is one mitzvah to teach your children how to keep the mitzvot, and another mitzvah to always speak Torah. I, however, read both parts together, which reminded me of an interesting phenomenon in the educational world. I know that I, for one, don't always find it easy to maintain a routine of continuous active learning in my daily life outside the protective yeshiva which I grew up in. Life demands I look for external means in which to maintain the level of learning I wish to uphold. The ways I use range from committing to a chavruta or study group, writing articles, setting deadlines, or, and this is the most convenient way for teachers, teaching in class or lesson the subject I want to learn. Therefore, I propose to read the words of Sforno like this: accustom your children to mitzvot so that you will always speak of them. A new way of learning from my students. Let's summarize. The mitzvah can be learning Torah or speaking in the holy language. The reason can be a tool for learning or meant to create a culture, and the emphasis on the children can be for their benefit or our own. But the result is that I always love Tanakh. If you enjoyed this video, please pass it on to a friend. Maybe they'll enjoy it as well. And don't forget to subscribe. I am Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.